Professor Siddhartha Panda, thanks a lot for your time, sir, and welcome on YourPedia Education.
Thank you very much.
So, Professor Siddhartha, I want to interact with you today related to various of your research areas. Some of the research areas in which you are doing marvelous work are related to semiconductors, biomarkers, and also related to tactile interface domains. And also, I could see, sir, you are working in certain domains, certain centers. There are certain centers which you have created. You are working in that, and your entire research is very relevant for certain section of society. Like you are working for visually impaired people. So this entire interaction is related to those research domains, which are very socially relevant areas. And recently, Professor, one of your projects named Tech Vibes, a novel watch for visually impaired, that was showcased in the first ever R&D fair, which was held in IIT Delhi on 14th and 15th of October. So we'll be discussing more about that also. I have made some kind of interaction points, sir. So if you permit me, I can start our interaction now.
Sure.
Okay, Professor, my first question of interaction is related to the personality whom we invite, and my first interaction point is related to you only. So I was going through your profile, and I found that after completion of your PhD, you started working with IBM in New York, and you worked for 6 years in the field of semiconductors. So that was very relevant field, and it is still today is. And I wanted to ask you, though I don't know this question is to be asked or not, but I still ask the people that what motivated you to come back to India and join teaching profession in IIT system?
Well, there are two things. One is coming back to India, and another one is joining the academia.
Yes.
The reason I came back to India is to take care of my parents.
Okay.
And so that's the most important thing for me, and more important than any financially rewarding career in corporate America.
Yes.
And the second point is that why academia? I worked in the industry, and I've had a very fulfilling time out there.
Okay.
But I made a very conscious decision to switch to academia when I came back to India.
Okay.
Because academia gives us certain freedom. It gives a wider canvas, and also gives us the freedom to test out new ideas, which perhaps a company would not give that permission. And more important is the time factors, because some ideas, especially far off ideas, which are in very emerging fields, require working on them for a relatively longer period of time, which an academia will provide for, but not the industry.
That's true.
So those were the reasons for joining an Indian academia after I moved back.
Professor, when I was going through your profile, I found you got many awards. You are quite a decorated academician, I must say. So you got awards like IBM Invention Achievement Award and Jeet Bindra Research Fellowship. These are mentioned in your CV. Please tell us something about these honors which you got.
Every organization has some recognitions for the people. So IBM has its own set of recognitions. IIT Kanpur has its own sets of recognitions, and these are some of them.
Okay, wonderful. Now coming to Professor, your field of research, and your research is related to semiconductor industry, and from research related to semiconductor industry to find interest towards disease detection by biomarker in body fluids and addressing the need of visually impaired people. So how do you pursue a knowledge domain as meaningful as this particular field, and also adding the value to certain domains? How do you figure out that what should be the focus of your research, and how do you identify the field of research for you, which also is very socially relevant?
Well, when I started my career in academia, I started with those areas where I had the training and where I was familiar with. So again, as I mentioned earlier, academia gives the freedom to explore more than the industrial R&D. So like I'm sure like others have done earlier and still doing it, and this is also what I did. We started with an area where I had some familiarity and some unknowns were there. It's a part of a learning process.
Okay.
because I also learned along with my students, along with my project staff, along with them I learned. And we got into newer areas and expanded our horizons. And as we moved along, many new ideas came. At the same time, there are also many opportunities came, because you look at some of the funding agencies, the kind of calls they give, or even companies you interact with, the kind of things they're interested in. So, there is always some interaction, and that also leads to newer avenues or some offshoots from the existing world. And that's how researchers grow, and that's how we have also grown.
Yeah. So, Professor Siddharth, my question, I will again rephrase what I wanted to know exactly was like, there are so many young researchers. You are quite, you have a lot of experience. You are quite senior, faculty member, and a lot of research you have done. The new researchers, new faculty members, when they start their academic journey, so they may come to a stage where they are to decide that whether we should get into the research in the field as promising as semiconductor or some new domain where financially it may be very rewarding for you and your institute, or we should enter into some domain, socially relevant research, which financially may not be very rewarding, but yes, it is need of the hour and it may help humanity or people. So how do you decide these things? That exactly I wanted to know, sir.
See, in an academia, that freedom is given to the individual.
Okay.
And there are so many roads.
Okay.
And one decides to take the road one wants to.
Okay.
There are some people who completely focus on fundamental research and not worry about the translation aspects of it.
Okay.
And some people perhaps, could go directly into translation.
Okay.
But many times, I don't think they are mutually exclusive.
Okay. Yes.
In fact, what we would like to do is like all our work.
It is collective things.
No, yeah, it's a natural progression. Like, okay, we conduct fundamental research. We have that understanding over whatever is happening.
Right.
We take that understanding forward.
Right.
To the next levels. That once we have a certain proof of concept, once the fundamental research is done, then go along that, go for higher TRLs. And then either we get it to high level enough so that we can have a technology transfer or reach out to a company.
Right.
That they can do a joint development to take it further. Right. There's so many avenues. Right. Especially for young researchers, it's all about what is it they want.
Right.
And I also have seen several young researchers, and happy to see that and they're all very focused.
Right, sir.
They know what they want, and many of them are doing fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. Professor, my next interaction point is related to the project of yours, which was displayed in R&D fair. But before I ask you and to elaborate more on that particular project and tell us about that project, I want to ask you about the R&D fair itself. As per my knowledge, this is the first time IITs, collectively pan IITs, they conducted this fair in IIT Delhi. So how do you see this entire thing? Because we visited with our team and we found a lot of energy among youngsters, researchers, industries, and there was a huge crowd, and it was very well seen and taken by industries and students. How do you see from your perspective? And can we expect, Professor, this to be annual fair R&D fair?
Well, 2 points. See, I am very happy with the concept, and I really would like to congratulate those who conceived the idea and those who executed this fair.
Yes.
It not only helped us in the academia.
Yes.
By putting together our best projects forward.
Right, sir.
But it also gave us an opportunity.
Okay.
Not only to see what our colleagues across other institutes have done.
Right, sir.
And thereby discuss on a common platform.
Right.
But also interact with people from the industry and also policymakers.
Yes.
But perhaps the most satisfying aspect of that is when we had students come over.
Yes, yes.
Because seeing their child, their curiosity,
yes,
was and answering their questions was a very rewarding time we had.
Yes.
Because they are our future.
That's true.
And we want to spark that interest.
Yes, that's most important.
In R&D. Because we want to become a knowledge economy. And
right.
that's what is being said. And our knowledge economy, one of the aspects of knowledge is through our R&D activities. And we want the brightest minds
Yes.
to come to this field, that they feel motivated, they see what's going on. And hopefully some of the students who came and saw what we are all doing do take inspiration from this fair. And we hope certainly that they take up a career. Eventually it leads to R&D, and maybe like a few years down the road, they are the ones who would be coming up with newer and newer technologies.
That's true. That's one.
The second point what you've mentioned is, okay, that should this be an annual fair or not? See, obviously, I mean, I'm not the right person to say what it is. I mean, it's for the organizers to say what it is. But if given if somebody asked me this question, I would certainly vote for it.
Okay.
That this is a very important and a very well thought out initiative.
Yes.
And definitely, at least I, in my capacity as a faculty member of an IIT, would like to see this as an annual affair.
So as you rightly said, Professor Siddharth, like students with whom even we are interacting, we found that it certainly induced the interest among students for such kind of research domains. Not only that, rarely a student will find learned professor of their field at one particular point, at one particular place from all the IITs. So that is a very, very enriched environment they can get in such kind of fairs. So even we support and we wish this fair goes every year, because we are still very, very motivated to participate in these kind of things, because that was first time done, and I'm very sure the organizers and they have done marvelously good. But the moment it is made annual ritual, or it is made ritualistic, so many improvements, and it can even get very well in shape. So we hope it goes every year, sir. Now I'm coming to the project, Professor, which was displayed, that is Tech Vibes Novel Watch for Visually Impaired. So I request you to please explain us about this particular project of yours.
See, in the world, there are about 295 million people who have some severe visual impairment.
Okay.
And about 43 million people who are blind.
Okay.
And in India, the number is about 79 million people who have visual impairment, severe visual impairment.
79 million.
79, and about 9.2 million who are blind.
Okay.
And there are several assistive technologies. For example, you have the braille, the
technology,
and also some navigational aids,
right,
which are there to help them conduct their day-to-day activities, including locomotion, and reading and all. But there are limitations. Limitations could be that perhaps the technologies are not to that level where they could conduct their activities in a far more efficient manner, or they are expensive, or they're limited offerings, and so on. So we looked at what are some of the pain points in some of them. So we focused on the watch. It's a very simple thing. It's about simply knowing the time, and that's what we routinely do. Perhaps there's not much of cognitive load involved in finding what the time is. So we focused on a watch, and what we found that the existing watches have limitations. For example, there's a tactile watch. In a tactile watch, just like a regular needle watch, there are two needles which to give information about the hour and the minutes, and on the basis of which one gets to know time. And there the user feels the needles and gets to know the time. But there are disadvantages. The needles could move, they could break.
Yes.
Now, there's another class of this watches are the talkback watches. You push a button and it speaks out the time. But again, there are limitations. In a crowded place, perhaps one cannot hear it, or in very quiet places, privacy is needed. That also is not comfortable. And also, these are very language specific. In the sense that, okay, this program to speak out the time only in a given language, and which may not be yours. Similarly, there's a braille watch, but these are very expensive. And then there's a vibrating watch. You tap the watch, it gives vibrations. But for some, it can go up to 23 vibrations.
Okay.
And again, puts a huge cognitive load trying to figure out what the time is. So what we looked at the pain points, and we developed this, we came up with a design which addresses the pain points. And this is how the watch looks.
Okay.
So this is the watch. And as you can see here, there are no needles. There are no moving parts.
Yes.
What we have is we have got 12 touch sensitive hour markers.
Okay.
Just like a regular watch, what one is familiar with. But these are touch sensitive. Now, what happens is, suppose the time right now is 3:05.
Okay.
Is 3:05. So now what one does is one scans with a finger, what simply scans these hour markers.
Okay.
So now what happens is here, this is the minute hand which tells, okay, the 5 minutes. Here what we'll have a short vibration.
Okay.
It
At 3 point.
At this will be 5, right?
Okay. Yes. First one, minute.
First one, yeah, the minute one, 5. One scans, and this is the hour hand. Then at this point, it will be a long vibration which says it is 3.
Okay. So long vibration means R.
Hour, short vibrations with 3.
Okay.
And nowhere else will you get a vibration.
Okay.
You just simply scan short vibration, long vibration, nothing else, 3:05. That is the time.
Okay.
Now the thing is that, okay, suppose it is 3:15. Because both the hour and the minute hands will be on the same point. So again, at the same point, there will be a short vibration followed by a long vibration. And that tells you that, okay, it's 3:15. So this gives time in 5-minute resolutions. And when we got feedback from subjects, they said for most cases, this was good enough. Okay. But this can also give 1-minute resolution. Suppose it is 3:07. So you'll have a vibration here. But if you stay a little bit longer, there'll be 2 short vibrations. So which means whatever it's 5, plus 2 more. That means it's 7. So that's how you can also get it in 1-minute resolutions. So with the help of a long vibration and short vibration, one can get to know the time. Wonderful. What are the advantages? Advantages that there are no needles to be moved or touched or broken or moved. So it's very robust. Again, there is no talk back. There are no issues with regards to getting disturbed, and this can be done. It can be accessed very privately. The time can be accessed very privately. And there are no language issues. Another one is that, okay, it is relatively inexpensive. And also you need only 2 vibrations to give any time. So cognitive load is minimal. Sure. So that is how one gets the time. That is the first product. Second product is a smartwatch. Okay. So what we did, this next version of this is a smartwatch. Again, we use the same concept. We use the same concept. The back end is similar to a regular watch or a smartwatch. But what is different is a user interface. Okay. So this user interface is based on the fusion of a tactile watch and a vibration watch. And that's how we gave the name TAC Vibes. Okay. Okay. So here so in the smartwatch, what we do is, again, we use a concept of a long pulse and a short pulse. Okay. But see, and I think when we were in like early school days, when we were learning mathematics, one way of learning mathematics is numbers was, okay, the units place and the tens place. So here what you have done is the long pulse indicates the tens place, the short pulse indicates the units place. Okay. For example, again, if for example, I want a number 35. Same thing, if the number is 35, I again scan it. So at 5, I mean, this indicates a short, it says 5. So this is a short pulse, so it tells me it is 5. I indicate, again, it comes here at our hand, see, this is 3, third one, 30, which means it's 35. So by this, from 0 to 99, just with the help of vibrations, the long vibration and short vibrations, we are able to get numbers 0 to 99. Okay. And if the number is more than 99, so I'll come to that later on. So now, if with the help of the vibrations in a watch, you are able to get these numbers, then what we thought was, can these numbers indicate our health parameters as in a smartwatch? For example, can it give the heartbeat? Can it give the SpO2? Can it give the, say, for example, when you're walking, the number of steps? So now what we have is like just like you navigate, like in a smartwatch, what happens is there are ways to navigate to different menus.
Mm.
And here we have ways to navigate to different haptic menus.
Mm-hmm.
So here is a button, you change the regular, you just by pressing the button. What happens? These are the markers, like what you call the 12, 3, 6, and 9. These are the active markers, they get activated. And then each of them represents a certain gateway to a haptic to a menu. So again, we have one is for the regular setting of the time. The other three are for the smartwatches to get this information about the heart rate, SpO2, and the step count.
Okay.
So now, for example, the heart rate, somebody's is 76. So now one goes to the menu, activates it, goes to the appropriate menu, and then the sensors are there which are measuring the pulse rate. Suppose it is 76. Again, one scans here. So one comes here at the 6th. There will be a short pulse. Say 6. The next is 7, long pulse. So that means it is 76.
Okay.
So what happens is somebody's heart rate is 109. Again, we have got features that if it is more than that, I can explain further. But by going through the menu, one can also go for numbers beyond 100. So with that, one can get all these parameters just by using this watch and simply through a different user interface, and that is through touch and vibrations.
Wonderful. Wonderful explanation, Professor Siddharth. So I wanted to ask you about the cost component of these watches. Are they in the market, and what is the cost component of this?
As of now, they are not in the market. These are high fidelity prototypes.
Okay.
So obviously, we cannot say what the cost is. The cost will be, well, the selling price will be determined by the person, the company which sells it. Okay. And they'll also have a cost, which is also based on the manufacturing costs. For us, like, I mean, we have a certain cost which is based on the cost of the components. Okay. And we also bought the components through, I mean, the regular sources, what anybody would get. But that's also what also comes to the cost is the cost that went into all the background thing, and a lot of R&D iterations that went into it, a lot of time which went into it, intellectual input that went into it. All these things would add to what made this prototype. But ultimate cost will be determined by the
manufacturers are there. But Professor, do we need to have a patent or something for such kind of products before we commercialize it?
We have, I mean, as far as smartwatch is concerned, an Indian patent has already been granted. Okay. And we have already have a PCT filing. Okay. In addition to that, there are several more features. Okay. For the watch and several other features for which we have already filed Indian patent applications, and several PCT filings are also underway. Okay. It's very important to protect the intellectual property. That's true. Especially when you do a technology transfer, it's very important that the company to whom you do the technology transfer feels secure about this particular technology. So there are two advantages. One is that, okay, this validates the fact that we have something unique. Because if a patent has been granted, which means that, okay, that the patent office has done its due diligence and looking at all the other existing technologies and granting us the patent validates our claim that we have something unique. In addition to that, it's also gives a sense of security to the companies who would eventually like to take this up. That they have a certain kind of a protection. Just don't infringe on that.
It's true. Wonderful, Professor Siddharth. It was so interesting to watch the display of the watches which you have made and the technology which was used. I want to ask you further related to touch sensitive tactile interface, which is one of the technologies you are using. You mentioned it as a technology. What do we mean by tactile interface? I want to know that. Apart from communicating time, your smartwatch also facilitate to use an interface to select different apps, as you just explained also, haptically recognize different apps, and to sense the numbers. What are the features offered in smartwatch in addition to regular watch functionality that also you have explained, sir? Where does it stand compared to regular smartwatch? That component I think we can discuss. Smartwatches are available in the market also, Professor Siddharth. So maybe we can discuss more on the comparative part now. The smartwatches which are already existing, they also measure similar parameters. and something about touch sensitive tactile interface.
Yeah, touch sensitive. See, right now we do many things simply by touching.
Okay.
If you look at if you look at a regular smartphone, what do we simply swipe?
Yes, yes.
What do? We simply
Yeah.
swipe over the screen, right? So we are touching. So now what we are saying is that, okay, in this particular case, we are utilizing the sense of touch for interfacing. Normally people with a regular vision, they see things.
Right.
And for in a regular watch or a smartwatch, there would be a display, and they see, and on the basis of that, they register the information. But in this particular case, it is the information is being communicated through sense of touch. And that's how, that's what we call is it's a tactile interface.
Okay.
Now, coming back to the other point which you made, like how does our smartwatch compare to the existing smartwatches? If you look at, for example, like Apple has a smartwatch, and that is for the and they have an additional feature which is a talkback, in the sense that whatever information it gives, that gets translated into a what you call that comes out as an audio. So that is how. But again, this is what we said about when we talked about regular watch. First of all, the privacy issues. There could be privacy issues. In addition to that, these become very language specific. So these are so this is how in our case, because there are no, there's no talkback. Okay. It affords a certain privacy. And we don't have to worry about a language, because if you want to see, it has to be programmed to a given language, and in many cases, the language may not be one which one is familiar with. It comes with a certain program language. But what we have, if you simply, it's only by long and short vibrations, it can work anywhere in the world.
That's true.
There are no language issues. So that is one point. Also, there is a dot watch also has some features. But again, there are limitations, because this again comes through the braille, and that requires some kind of a braille literacy. And here we don't, that's not needed to have anything. There's no need to have any such literacy or anything. And these are the advantages what we have. And one of the things is that with the dot watch also, they're not utilized for health monitoring, which our smartwatch can facilitate.
Wonderful. So wonderful difference between your watch and the watch which is already available in the market, Professor. My next interaction point is very interesting. In fact, I was going through your profile, sir, and I found something very peculiar there. I found that one of your MTech project thesis of one of your students is got a lot of the prestigious award. So MTech thesis work of one of your students, Vishwaraj Srivastav, eventually led you to win prestigious Ranjan Kumar Memorial Award, earning recognition for being the best socially relevant project by graduating student. So we know, Professor, MTech, BTech, these projects, students are not very, serious for the projects. They are more focused on theoretical learning also and other things also. So that also is one of the very, very important thing to be discussed, like how can a professor generate that kind of interest among students so that they really start working on socially relevant projects, because it has two implications. One is obviously he's doing very good research in the IIT system, infrastructure is being utilized properly. Second is many of these youngsters in future are going to become entrepreneur also. So that culture of entrepreneurship can you can breed, and IITs can be the breeding grounds for that. So these are the two repercussions for that. So Professor, I want to know more about this particular project and how it all went.
Specifically, with how this work started. Vishwaraj, he joined my group, and I could see a spark in him.
Okay.
He had that creativity and that buzz. And this is something like, okay, when we discussed, this is something he latched upon to it. He latched onto it, and it was a pleasure to see how the kind of time he put in and how to take this forward. And that eventually led to some of the other prototypes which came out. Now, coming to students, see, sometimes it's not that, we are what we are. But there are students who know what they want. It's just that we have to give them the platform, that freedom to do what they want to do.
Yes.
And by the right mentorship, we can get the best out of them.
Yes.
So similarly, I mean, when it comes to socially relevant work, I mean, this is what, like in our group, all the activities, they are geared towards some social relevance. Some of them are more at the upstream end, trying to understand more fundamentals so that they can be utilized for making prototypes. Some of them are a little bit midstream or even downstream, where we are going towards, where we are making the prototypes. But they all point in one direction, that is towards social relevance. So once students know that, students approach us, and sometimes students come up with far more better ideas. And at the end of the day, the students and the project staff, it is their hard work which leads towards the making of these kind of devices.
That's true. So Professor, what was this project like? I mean, it was similar to what was done earlier?
No, Vishwaraj's master's thesis was like a different. It was a different prototype.
Okay.
Again, based on device for the visually impaired.
Okay.
It was not a watch, it was something else.
Okay, but related to this domain only.
Related to this domain, yes.
Okay. So what we understand is, Professor, like having a product is one charm, is one thing. Naming the product is the another thing. So my next question to you is related to the naming of your product. Though you have explained that thing in one of the answers which you gave, tech vibes. So you explain this term. I request you once again to explain the name, the relevance of this name.
Yeah, tag vibes comes from two words. Tag is for tactile and vibes come from vibration.
Okay.
This watch and the smartwatch functions on a platform which is a fusion of two existing modes.
Okay.
The tactile mode and the vibrational mode.
Okay.
And the name tag vibes indicates that this is a fusion of these two modes.
Okay. Wonderful. Professor, my next question is related to aesthetics and functionality. We know that product must have both the things. It must have functionality, that is a primary importance thing. It must fulfill the objective for which it is being created. And then comes the aesthetics, the beautification part of it. So you have made a smartwatch. You showed that showed to us also. It is looking beautiful. Question was, you are making it for visually impaired people, blind people. So what is the relevance of aesthetics in that, knowing that it is being made for someone who may not see it?
Well, if you have a friend who is visually impaired, you want to gift a dress, would you look only at the functionality, or would you also look at the aesthetics?
Moreover, dresses are used for others. I mean, they should see us.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
They go hand in hand. That's, I mean, aesthetics are a form of a respect.
Yes.
We will try to give something to them, what we would want for ourselves.
Very true. Beautiful. That concept is really wonderful, Professor. So that reflects the holistic part of your imagination when you are conceiving the ideas for the products which you are making, Professor. My next question to you is related to the product itself. When we generally get bored by using a particular product for a long time, when you're using it for a long time, and want to shift over to some new design for new fashion, as we see in the automobile sector also, we are changing product after product. How do you see your customer base expecting the same, some kind of newness and new creativity in your product in terms of features which you could possibly think of in future in your models, that is Tech Vibes model?
In fact, when we started it, we gave it to some subjects like who were visually impaired.
Okay.
And we got a feedback from them.
Okay.
And on the basis, in fact, whatever we have now has come from the feedback.
Okay, wonderful.
Because see, we are both, myself and Vishwaraj, I mean, we are not visually impaired. So we would not know.
Yes.
What, like, okay, what is it that, like, what visually impaired people are going through and how they're perceiving it. But when we gave it to them, and they gave the feedback, we went back to the drawing board incorporate features, gave it back to them, and that is how all these features got incorporated.
Okay.
But now we hope that like this, if when this reaches more number of people, and we'll again have a channel open where they will give us relevant feedback, and again we'll continue to incorporate those features to the best of our ability. And that is an ongoing process.
Okay, yeah, it has to be. That's correct. Professor, my next question, my interaction point was related to whatever you said just now, feedback mechanism of the customer. And that was related to the market survey, market research, whatever we call it. So whenever we conceive some product or some idea, we are very much interested to know that whether our customer will be taking it in future once it is created or not. So market survey or market research is one important part of that. So I want to ask you at what stage you did market survey for this kind of thing, maybe economic viability of your product. Have you done it, or it is still to be done, or at what stage it should be done?
We have done it when we are filing for patents.
Okay.
We have, I mean, and we did it because there's a part of the requirement of the patent filing process here.
Okay.
So we went, so we just like looked up the data.
Okay.
One is like how many visually impaired people are there in the world.
Okay.
In India, and how many blind people are there in the world in India.
Yes.
So we got those numbers. In addition to that, we also looked at the different markets, from the watch market and the assistive technology market. If you look at the watch market, that is, I think it's about 92 billion US dollars, growing at about 5%. And if you look at the assistive technology market, that is about 800 million US dollars, growing at about 7%. So looking at, because ours is assistive technology based on a watch. So when we look at these numbers, like we have a good market, total addressable market. We also are going on two platforms of the watch and assistive technologies, and these also have a very decent market and growing strongly. So all these things pointed out to a good commercial, the good commercial numbers.
I'm sure it is. Professor, next is related to the collaboration you had with NC Flex E. So for the sake of viewers on my channel, I want you to tell us something about the research center, which is NC Flex E, what all it offers, and how any interested student can become the part of this center of excellence.
Well, NC Flex E stands for National Center for Flexible Electronics.
Okay.
And those who are interested to know more, I invite you to visit our website, www.ncflexe.in. Or if you simply Google National Center for Flexible Electronics, that our information about our center will pop up.
Okay.
So this center was set up in the year 2014.
Okay.
And it's a joint initiative of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology of the Government of India and IIT Kanpur. The vision of this center is to conduct R&D in flexible electronics so as to catalyze the development of domestic industry in this field. So the vision statement of this R&D center has the word industry.
Sure.
So what we have is like we conduct R&D, but R&D which potentially leads to manufacturing by collaborating with industries.
Okay.
And this industry serves as a bridge between the academic ecosystem and the industrial ecosystem. Many times what happens is some nice ideas which are generated in the academia, they do not go to the industry because of many reasons. But this, in the area of flexible electronics, this center tries to be that bridge, to take that knowledge, do the translation, de-risk it, march along the TRLs, and then see, okay, maybe the companies who are interested in collaborating, and then through a joint development mode, this can be taken forward. Or these technologies can be brought to a certain level and they can be licensed to some companies. Or, well, these technologies can be taken up and can be incubated. So we've got all these three modes of interaction. And in fact, we have had successes in all these three modes in our center. So this is a center of excellence in this area of flexible electronics. And as you said, like, who would be the people who would be interested? In fact, like, through your channel, I would like to invite all industries who are interested in flexible electronics to come and get in touch with us and visit us, and so that we can have discussions. Essentially, it is it's a center which we are gearing towards the industry, so that if they have any interest in anything to do with printable electronics and flexible electronics, they can try things out here. And this is an emerging area which has got immense potential. And there are several companies who are willing to try new things. They want to diversify. And we have a large footfall of companies who come and visit us.
Okay.
And the advantages of working here is that we have facilities right from the lab level all the way to almost semi-pilot level.
Okay.
So that if ideas are there, they can be tried not on a lab level, but at a semi-pilot level. So in the process, one can de-risk the technology development here. And it's a huge benefit for the industry. They don't have to establish their own R&D center or come up with facilities out there, and then try it out here. And if something, and we share the successes, we share the losses.
Okay.
So that's a huge advantage. Now coming back to project staff, we have got several projects there, and we are looking for people who are interested in working on these projects.
Okay.
And as far as students are concerned, they can get in touch with the faculty members, because students, they have to come, they have to get admitted to IIT Kanpur and through a certain process, and we don't have any role in this, because that comes to an admission process.
Yes.
And if they are interested, and then through the faculty members, some projects can be possibly worked out.
So as you rightly suggested, Professor Siddhartha, that they should first go to the website. And I'm very sure all these projects which you are just mentioning, I think these projects must also be mentioned there. So student, as per his interest, can identify, where his interest lies, and he can go through that particular process. So for admission into this kind of centers, there's always a process, there's a method, and through that method, they can get into this and work on those ideas. Professor, I want to ask, what is the meaning of flexible electronics? That word flexible, I was trying to ask you that.
Okay. When we think of electronics, we always think of a rigid board, right?
Right.
We think of a rigid board,
right.
And we have seen if you open your PC, we all seen a motherboard.
Right.
Typically green colored motherboard, all the components are there.
Yes.
But now think of it that's no longer rigid, but it's flexible. And now that is what is flexible electronics.
Okay.
So now what we can have is, there are displays which are now flexible. Right now, perhaps the laptop through which I'm having this conversation, that has a rigid screen. But again, we have technologies where the screen is also no longer rigid. It is it's no longer straight. It can be flexible. Not only with displays, but also with so many things like solar cells. Like right now, solar cells, when we think of solar cells with solar panels, we only look at the rigid panels, which are very rigid. But now we can have solar panels which can come on like a roll. But what is more critical is the mode of manufacturing. See, if you look at newspaper, the way newspapers are printed, there's a roll and the newspapers are printed.
Yes.
And that's why we can have large scale printing.
Yes.
So flexible electronics also utilizes the concept of printability.
Okay.
So just like we can have this screen printing, we can have roll-to-roll printing. And just like we have got, we are printing other graphical things, we can also print electrical circuits. That's what, in short, flexible electronics is what it's all about.
So that means size will be one of the parameter which can be taken care of.
Yes, you can have large rolls, just like a newspaper. Just like in roll to roll, you can have a large roll and keep on printing on it.
Wonderful.
So the advantage is that you can have economy of scale.
Right. That's true.
And the paradigm of manufacturing is different. So there's a lot of things which are different.
When you showed the product to a smartwatch, it was looking very simple, very aesthetically designed, very beautiful. But I understand that till the final product takes a shape and it comes out and we feel it, a lot of challenges you have to face. So my next question was related to that only. So I wanted to ask you, Professor Siddharth, when you think of some innovation and it takes some shape, what are the major challenges which you come across?
Well, that's a story with almost every research field.
Stu?
I mean, if you knew what the outcome would be, we would not call it research to begin with.
Yes. That's true.
So anything with the research is always as an unknown component, and we are trying to understand, whether this will work or not.
Mm.
So start with the concept, try something, there is failure, go back, learn, try something else. You see some success, there's a failure, and that what you call the journey continues. You take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, again 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and so on. So the progress is never linear. It's always with ups and downs.
Right.
But over a period of time, there's a net movement in a positive direction.
That's true.
So that happens. I mean, some things don't work. Sometimes the ideas don't work. Sometimes we don't get the right components. Sometimes there are issues with the design itself. But if one keeps at it, at some point of time, one will see some
That's true.
movement in the positive direction and some success.
Professor Siddharth, I want to ask you one question, which is not part of the script which I prepared, but otherwise during discussion, I felt like asking this question to you. I strongly believe that Center of Excellence institutes and premium institutes like IITs, they can become the breeding ground for entrepreneurs. And we can create so many entrepreneurs, and that is the need of the hour for a country like India, where we want to become self-reliant in field of technology and all. So what is your view on this particular part, how IITs can play this particular role in effective way, where these become the, as you mentioned, one example of one of your students, Vishwaraj Srivastav, he did marvelous work, and you said that you only ignited him and he started working on that particular direction. So how do you see this entire thing for IIT?
Obviously, I mean, like right now, not only in IITs, but in the entire country.
Yes.
We have now very enabling policies regarding startups.
Yes.
Regarding entrepreneurship,
right,
at every level. Well, what ground reality is something which I don't know, but at least the policies are there. And this is a journey. I mean, at least these things weren't there at least 10 years ago. Now, even the IITs also have come up very strongly in this process. And even IIT Kanpur also has a very strong ecosystem on innovation and incubation. And also in our center, National Center for Flexible Electronics, entrepreneurship is something, one of the things which we strongly encourage. And I'm happy to share that technologies which have been developed here in our center have been incubated. And we expect that a few more incubations will happen in the coming years. So that is something which is ongoing. And I think that we have with the buzz that's going on, believe that, there'll be more and more entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And one thing I would like to add, see, in IIT Kanpur, a student entrepreneurship policy has been affected now.
Okay.
Now students, if they want to get into anything into entrepreneurship, they can take credits for entrepreneurial activities.
Okay. Okay.
So these are all enabling clauses which are happening at different stages to inculcate the scent of entrepreneurship.
That's true.
In our students.
Yes. Even I've seen, sir, some IITs coming out with the master's courses in entrepreneurship, and all. So these are the new, as you rightly said, new things, new policies from IIT side, from government side, these are coming up. If effectively done, I'm very sure it is going to be very, very useful and relevant for students in India. My next couple of questions, Professor Siddharth, are from students directly for you. And this is what I'm going to discuss with you. Professor Siddharth, when students listen to people like you and they see that, okay, this is the research work going on in system, they want to associate them with people like you. They want to work under your guidance as master students, as PhD students, and as project assistant or something like that. So I will ask you very straight, how such student can prepare themselves or can think of joining under the mentorship of people like you?
Well, they have to qualify through the exams here at IIT Kanpur.
Yes.
And that's the first thing. But once they come here into the right department, the kind of students I look for is students who are motivated.
Yes.
And I tell students, like sometimes students ask, what kind of a prerequisite need to have. I said, look, whatever you know, whatever field you come from, as long as you have the basics clear, that's the minimum that's required.
Okay.
But what, and some of them say, look, I don't have any prior experience. I said, like, you don't need prior experience.
Yes.
What you need is an open mind, that inquisitiveness, that curiosity, and that dedication and the perseverance, of making things happen. I think as long as those ingredients are there, some things will come out.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what I've seen.
So wonderfully simplified, you have mentioned all these things. So you don't expect any specialized knowledge from the student that of the domain in which you are working, but basic knowledge.
Yeah, obviously there has to be some basic knowledge. Otherwise, one will not be able to understand what is to be done.
Obviously.
But see, it's about an attitude.
Yes.
A can-do attitude. Even if there are some limitations with the knowledge, that can always be filled.
That's true.
What is more important is having the right attitude.
So that inquisitiveness which you said and passion to work, these are more important ingredients. Professor Mano, my last question to you for this interaction is, what will you suggest to the students of your field of knowledge for latest domains of your field where they should think of pursuing their career? So what is latest going on in your field of engineering?
But engineering is a very vast area. And there's so many new things which are coming in different aspects of engineering.
Yes.
So if I limit myself to the interface of chemical engineering, materials, and flexible electronics, because these are the domains I work at the intersection of these things. Oh, there are many exciting fields. A lot of research needs to be done in those fields.
That's true.
So I mean, it's just a matter of okay, students who are interested, I mean, they have the right attitude to come, and they have the right attitude to get things done, and wherever they are, I mean, they can contribute immensely, and we need the contribution of all of them, so that the field develops.
So that is wonderful, Professor Siddharth, and that brings us to an end of this very wonderful session, and full of information, interesting information from your side, and I'm really thankful to you for that, sir. And I must say that the kind of information which has come from your side related to different fields of specialization in which you are working, these will be very, very helpful to the young researchers, to the people who are in industries and thinking of creating something new, entrepreneurs and students. Very nicely explained, Professor Siddharth. Let me thank you once again, and I wish you all the very best for your future endeavors, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving this medium to reach out to a larger number of people.
Thanks a lot.
And I wish the viewers all the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.